Welcome back to Ignite News from Mohawk College. I'm your host, Carly Baker, and today we're going to be exploring a few documentaries made by the third-year journalism students. Starting off with The Power of Water, which talks about how water plays a significant role in different religions.
What do you see when you think of the word water? Maybe you see blue from the reflection of the sky. When you think of the smell, do you smell fresh water or salt? Our perception of water can be completely different depending on where you live in the world, but the importance of water remains the same.
Water is essential. Water is cleansing. Water is home to millions of creatures, and human beings are made of up to 60% water. We've built machines to adapt to water, to transport people and goods. But for countless religions and cultures all around the world, water is more than just essential. It can represent something holy, something sacred or divine. It's used in countless rituals and ceremonial events.
We talked with people from 3 different faiths to ask them why water is so significant. Christians use water in a multitude of ways. In the Bible, many of Jesus' miracles involved water, like when Christ turned water into wine.
I think the most important part that we would use the water in the Catholic Church is for the baptism. Baptism is basically the first fundamental sacrament, like opening to the grace of God, becoming a child of God. And it comes from the history. When we read the Gospel, when Jesus began his ministry, he went to River Jordan, where John Paul II baptized him, and the Holy Spirit was sent over Christ, and it was like the beginning of the mission, sent off for Jesus Christ. So for us, basically, using the water through the baptism is emerging into the life of God and being raised to a new life as well. So that will be the most important, I would say, usage in the Catholic Church for the baptism. So people coming to the church will bless themselves with the holy water as a reminder of the baptism, that we were baptized, we belong, we are children of God. And so coming into the church and blessing themselves with the holy water just remind people that we belong to this family of faith.
Hindus worship rivers as goddesses, and water is also used to purify the soul.
When the person dies, we release the ashes in the river water, so that we believe that that person will get moksha. So we believe like a human being has to go like around almost 80 million lives just to get a human form, and then life, soul is eternal, body dies and reborns again, but the soul remains same. When I talk about moksha means like your soul gets free out of that cycle.
Water is a very well-respected substance in Islam. Muslims are taught to revere water and not to be wasteful of it. They are taught to only use as much of it as they need, no matter how much they have.
During the day, we like spend a lot of time maybe like cursing and saying bad things, maybe like gossiping. You never know, like someone, like we're human, like we might say things like that. So the metaphorical way of us cleansing before we go to God would be to wash our hands. This would include also washing, like rinsing our mouth and then washing our face. That's just because in the Quran, it even says that God is very, very merciful. So he kind of gives us a chance to repent every single time we pray, and he wants us to be as clean as possible. That's why we kind of like cleanse our hands and cleanse our face. So we're just cleansing in order to stand before God so he can forgive us.
Water can be destructive. In many cases, it's not something we can control. It's bigger than us. From floods and wreckage to a lack of clean water in some communities, our quality of life is directly affected by the quality of water that we have access to.
The first thing when it came to my mind, it's the flood. Flood happened back in 2018 in my place. It was so horrible. I should say it was so horrible. At that day, I still remember, it was August 15th. It's a special day for Christians. And I was attending Holy Mass. When the beginning of Holy Mass, it was normal. After 1.5 hours, flood began. I should say it's too powerful in every sense. Like, it will purify you in the same sense it will destroy you to nothing.
According to the holy book Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has specified such a great qualities regarding water, because he told that water is a source of purification. Water is a source of making people united together.
When Allah says He sent down from the heavens water for us, and He can take it away at any time, right? So He touches on that, and He says that He's gonna take away the water in the last days. Like, that's gonna be like drought, and even drought is a really big thing for us, because it shows that water is a necessity, and it teaches us like to respect water, and to respect God in general, but water, because it's such an important thing for us.
But on the other side of destruction is restoration.
I think the first thing what comes to my mind is life.
I'm gonna say responsibility. Freeing yourself from this entire circle of life and death.
It is a way of life, a necessity, because if we don't have it, we'll probably die.
Later when you will hear the story of the big flood that happened with, what was his name? Noah, who built the ark. And I mean, once again, you cannot take the story literally, but once again, the water became a new beginning. And from that perspective, it wasn't seen as something bad. I mean, flooding itself, it's bad, but it was a new start. For people have a chance to renew their life, renew their relationship with God.
We have to be vocal activists when water is being abused, when water is being wasted. It's a general rule that everything on earth was actually placed on earth for the human being to benefit. But it was also used for who? For all of the human beings, meant for all people to benefit.
Those are just some of the religions that use water in their practice. But you don't have to practice any of them to show your respect for it. So next time you open up your water bottle or go to wash your hands, take a moment to show some gratitude. Think about where it came from and what it does for you.
If you are a student who loves coffee, you may feel inclined to watch this next documentary. This is Mugged.
How would you feel if you saw your roommate open up a can of beer at breakfast, saying that it helps them wake up or that they can't really function without it? You would probably feel, at the very least, a bit concerned about them. However, replace that beer with a cup of coffee, and suddenly, somehow, it's different, or perhaps it's even relatable, despite the fact that caffeine, just like alcohol, is a drug. 90% of the population consumes some form of caffeine daily. Children are even allowed to purchase and consume it in the form of pop, chocolate, or even energy drinks. With all that we know about caffeine and the damage that it can do to us, why are we still using it every single day? Well, you probably have an answer for that. So how about a different question? When it comes to caffeine, do we have a problem? Humans' love for caffeine is basically hardwired into our DNA at this point. Just as Rome wasn't built in a day, humans' love for caffeine didn't just happen overnight. Fermented beverages made from cocoa seeds were consumed in Mesoamerica tracing back to 1900 BC, with people in China brewing the first pot of tea all the way back to potentially 2737 BC. Coffee is a relatively newer invention, with it being popularized in 15th century Mecca. Not long after, coffee beans began being traded around the world, with the first European coffee house being opened in Venice in 1645. It's important to note that before clean drinking water became accessible, drinks like coffee or tea were one of the few safe things that a person could drink, and the buzz certainly helped a little too. It's clear that humans have a long-standing relationship with caffeine, but how exactly does caffeine work? Well, caffeine is something called a methylxanthine, which is a chemical compound that is known for stimulating your central nervous system and circulatory system. This is why caffeine makes you more energetic and can make your heart beat faster due to increased activity. Caffeine is also something known as an antagonist for adenosine, which is a neurotransmitter that is responsible for making you sleepy. When you consume caffeine, the caffeine molecules bind to the adenosine receptors in your brain and block out the adenosine, preventing you from getting tired. In the busy world that we live in, it's no wonder why something that can wake you up, make you more focused and more productive is so popular amongst, well, basically everyone. However, there's one demographic that is famously known for its consumption or overconsumption of caffeine. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you wake up at 6 a.m. to the sound of your alarm blaring after you were up late the night before, studying for a test or completing an assignment. All you want to do is go back to sleep, but the world won't stop spinning just because you're tired. So you reach for a coffee, the one thing that gives you the will to go on with your day.
When people are young and we know that we're trying to, go to school and work, and there's all kinds of pressures and all that, caffeine becomes the crutch.
Hearing the drip of the coffee machine in the morning can sound like beautiful music to some people. Well, a lot of people.
I did start drinking coffee when I started working because it used to be so cold in the office. I really needed something that could keep me awake.
According to Made in Canada, roughly 72% of Canadians aged 18 to 19 drink at least 1 cup of coffee per day.
It's usually coffee, one in the morning, one in the evening.
Fast forward to midday and you can feel the effects of your morning coffee starting to wear off. It's time to replenish the caffeine supply in your bloodstream by hitting up one of the vending machines at school for an energy drink. Caffeinated energy drinks are one of the fastest growing products in the beverage industry and have become increasingly popular amongst young Canadians. According to the National Library of Medicine, 74% of youth from the age of 12 to 24 says that they've tried an energy drink. But what are the consequences of forcing ourselves to stay awake chemically? With every high comes a low, and caffeine is no different. You know how the caffeine molecules bind to those adenosine receptors in your brain? Well, obviously, that's not permanent, because otherwise you would just need 1 cup of coffee your entire life. Caffeine begins to wear off after an average of between 3 to 5 hours, depending on factors like weight, sex, and age. When the caffeine molecules start detaching from the adenosine receptors in your brain, the adenosine starts flooding back in and you get sleepy again. This is what is known as a caffeine crash. So to avoid the crash, just have more caffeine, right? Health Canada recommends adults consume a maximum of 400 milligrams of caffeine daily.
Never exceed 400 milligrams, especially for young adults, right? 400 milligrams is really the safe thing.
That's equal to approximately 3 cups of brewed coffee, 2 cups of cold brew coffee, 8.5 cups of black tea, 12.5 cans of cola, or 6 bars of dark chocolate. How about energy drinks? How many of those can I have in a day? Well, that's a bit trickier. Health Canada only permits a maximum of 180 milligrams of caffeine in energy drinks. But not long ago, Health Canada had a big crackdown on various energy drink brands for mislabeling the amount of caffeine in their drinks. But that's a story for another day. And what exactly happens when you have too much caffeine?
In excess, and what excess will mean for one person is slightly different for somebody else, is that it will create heart palpitation. And some people get very strong palpitations, and that can lead to, some permanent damage.
Some of the symptoms of overconsumption of caffeine include shakiness, headaches, anxiety, digestive issues, and insomnia.
In an age where we're also mindful of all of mental health issues, Caffeine can really either lead to anxiety or increase levels of anxiety.
Consume way too much, and you could experience effects like vomiting, confusion, irregular heartbeat, hallucinations, and even seizures. All of that being said, what happens if you try to kick those daily cups of coffee? To put it simply, it will be hard.
It is addictive. And the way that you know if you have addiction is that you get symptoms of withdrawal.
It's very easy to become dependent on caffeine, whether you know you are or not, because it's so ingrained in our world. However, quitting or just simply cutting down on caffeine is possible.
I went from drinking coffee every morning, and I limited myself to once a day. And then I kind of realized that it was addicting. So I didn't like the feeling of needing something every day. So I weaned myself off of it.
When you quit caffeine, you'll probably experience withdrawal symptoms like headaches, tiredness, irritability, and reduced concentration.
Long story short, I had really bad withdrawals from stopping. Headaches, bless my mother, but I was a very angry person, very short-tempered. Everything bothered me. And it was about 2 weeks of that. And then that made me even more feel even weirder about drinking it, because I'm okay, if I can't stop without getting headaches, and that's really weird. So it encouraged me to stop even more.
The good news is that after around 2 to 9 days, you should start to see these symptoms go away. And another piece of good news is that you actually don't need to give up caffeine entirely, but instead you can substitute your daily cup of coffee or can of energy drink with something that's better for you and can provide the energy that you're looking for.
You might need coffee to get through university years, to get through, some challenging periods, but I'm always mindful of what are the other things that you could also do that will be good for yourself, that will help you. For example, green tea. Green tea gives you great alertness, good for memory as well, green tea, but it doesn't give jitters.
There are even coffee alternatives made of mushrooms that provide the same buzz as caffeine without all the negative side effects. At the end of the day, moderation is key with caffeine. Caffeine's popular for a reason and can have its benefits, but it is something that you just need to be conscious of. So sit down with your cup of coffee in the morning. Take a sip. Don't stress about productivity, waking up fast, or having enough energy to tackle that mountain of homework. Just relax, slow down, enjoy, and take another sip.
If you cut down on your coffee consumption, you may find yourself sleeping better. And if you want to have some fun in your dreams, watch this next documentary called Lucid Dreaming.
What is a dream? A dream is defined as a series of thoughts, images, and sensations that occur while a person is asleep. For most people, these play out like movies. You might be an actor in the film, but you're only doing what the script tells you to do. But what if you weren't just an actor, but the director? What if you could do more than just watch a dream unfold? A lucid dream is what happens when you become aware of the fact that you're dreaming while you are still asleep. This awareness can let some people control what happens in their dreams, to dictate what is happening and change the course of their dreams entirely. These lucid dreams aren't exactly common. The Sleep Foundation found that only 55% of adults have had at least one lucid dream in their lifetime. 23% of people who do have lucid dreams say that they have them at least once per month, meaning that only around 12% of people, or 1 in 8, have them somewhat frequently. There are methods we can use to encourage lucid dreams to happen, and that's what got us thinking. What if we followed these methods to see if they really work? The 5 of us, journalism students at Mohawk College, agreed to try these methods for 30 days and record any results we might have. The first step was to begin keeping a dream journal. The Sleep Foundation has found that keeping track of dreams on a regular basis may make it easier to remember dreams in the future. While this won't induce lucid dreaming, it is key to actually remembering the details when one does occur. As for the strategies that are meant to induce lucid dreams, the first one is the mild method, which stands for mnemonic induction of lucid dreams. It works by thinking about dreams as you fall asleep, either dreams you've had recently, or telling yourself over and over that the next time you dream, you'll remember that you're dreaming. By making this thought a habit, it's more likely for you to think it mid-dream. Reality checks are similar in the way that they build habits that extend into dreams. For some reason, your hands will often look strange in dreams, and you can breathe even while covering your nose. By training ourselves to look at our hands, it's more likely that we'll attempt to do it during one of our dreams. If we notice that something is off in the dream by performing these reality checks, it can turn a normal dream into a lucid one. Finally, the wake back to bed method includes resetting your REM cycle to encourage more frequent dreaming. By waking up a few hours after you fall asleep and staying awake for 30 minutes, your brain will reset to a point where it's ready to enter REM sleep once again, increasing your chances of having a lucid dream. With the methods we were using in place, we set out to see what we could dream up, and these are our results.
Yeah, so my dreams have always been really weird, but in the last couple of years, I started taking a medication and things have gotten weirder.
Usually when I do end up dreaming, it's usually very sort of random.
I do have I've had night terrors in the past. I've suffered through sleep paralysis quite a few times. About once a month I would get it.
I've had a lucid dream on a couple occasions.
No, I've not had a lucid dream. I've heard of the term lucid dream, and I've seen people do it, and I've seen videos about it, articles, but no, I've not had one.
Yeah, on and off. Nothing of interest, nothing of note besides just everyday life.
I used reality checks, and I also used the dream journal to sort of help me remember the dreams more, so.
But the number one method that really worked for me was plugging my nose and trying to breathe. I did that reality check throughout the day for the 30 days that we conducted the experiment. And each time that I had a lucid dream throughout this process, it was because of that technique. In my dream, I went to plug my nose and try to breathe in. And when I could breathe in, I realized I was dreaming.
I used the dream journal, the reality checks, and for a little while I was using the wake back to bed.
Yes, I had 2 lucid dreams during the experiment. The first one, I was sitting on my couch with my fiance, and the first thing I remember is turning to him and asking if he thought this could be a dream, which I guess is another technique that I kind of used while doing the experiment, asking myself throughout my waking hours, could this be a dream, and questioning reality definitely helped. So yeah, I asked him, do you think this could be a dream? I went to go plug my nose and try to breathe in, and I could. I was surprised, so I tried again to confirm that I actually could breathe in while plugging my nose and closing my mouth, and I could. So I turned to my fiance and said, oh my God, this is a dream. And for some reason, I thought that maybe he was also dreaming and our dreams were connected, which doesn't really make sense, but for some reason that's where my brain went. So I told him, maybe you're dreaming too, you should plug your nose and try to breathe. So he did that, and he kind of just gave me a look as if to say, that doesn't work, what are you on about? And it turned into a discussion of, I guess you're not real then, and I'm real and you're not, and that sucks. And he looked very concerned about it. And then, since I knew I was dreaming, I got up off the couch and I tried to jump into the air to see if I could fly, fell on my butt, and I woke up.
I did. I was hanging out with some old friends from high school, just in downtown Hamilton. I think we were leaving a bar or something like that, and we were just talking, hanging out, talking about all kinds of stuff, sports, video games, whatever. And eventually, I sort of realized that it was a dream because stuff was just off. Some people had the wrong hair, some people had the wrong face. And one of my buddies, this was when I actually noticed that it was a lucid dream, completely wrong. Wrong hair, wrong face, wrong build, all of that. And after that, I actually took a brief second to do a reality check, and my hands looked a bit weird, and after that I just woke up as fast as possible.
I was on campus in an elevator, and the elevator just suddenly dropped at one point. I remember falling, hitting the floor of the elevator, and I thought it was weird, this doesn't just happen. So I looked at my hands to check, and they were screwed up, but in the context of the dream it made sense. So I then got up and left the elevator and went to get lunch with my dad. I thought that was completely normal in the context of the elevator just dropped, I'm probably injured, let me go to a cafe. And what tipped me off that it might be a dream, and the weirder part was that my dad was just completely cool with that. I remember sitting down and saying oh, I was just in an elevator accident, it fell 3 floors. He's like, oh, that's cool, what do you want to eat? So I plugged my nose, breathed in, and I could, and immediately looked at him and I said, this isn't real, and then I was awake.
Yeah.
So you haven't had any lucid dreams over the course of the experiment?
No, so far I've not had one. But I have been doing the reality checks and the WBTV, and yeah.
I thought it was a really fun experiment. I could definitely see myself doing it again in the future.
Well, it was fun. I mean, unusual, but it was fun. Lucid dreaming is an interesting thing, so I probably will continue trying to induce them because I want to know what else will happen.
I think I'll keep doing them. I'll keep doing the methods that I've been doing, and hopefully I can get a result from them because I've been hearing stories about the people in my group and their stories, so it seems pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a really good experience with lucid dreaming. I'm definitely going to continue trying to induce lucid dreaming. It was something that I was kind of interested in before taking on this experiment, but actually committing and spending 30 days really trying to make it happen, I think just showed a lot of potential for growing that skill and that ability to be able to do that.
I probably won't keep doing it just because at the beginning, it was definitely making sleep paralysis more frequent. And like writing down the dreams while it was interesting is making the nightmares also way clearer, which isn't ideal. So it was a lot of fun to do and experiment with, but I'm probably not going to continue using it.
And now we get to the parts where you ask, what's the point? Why try to induce lucid dreams, or try to remember any dream at all? It's a difficult question to answer. Dreams are nearly impossible to study given their nature. You can't unpack what's happening in someone's sleeping mind like you can while they're awake. Despite that, there is some evidence to suggest that lucid dreaming has benefits. Some studies have shown that practicing lucid dreaming can improve psychological well-being while awake. Others suggest it can improve a person's self-confidence, as characteristics of their sleeping behavior can carry over into their waking personality. And some people just find lucid dreaming interesting.
Thank you for watching another episode of Ignite News from Mohawk College. I'm your host, Carly Baker.